Om Shanti. Let's sit in reflection for some time. Keep your body still. And turn your attention towards your mind. Ask yourself, am I happy? What is my current state of mind? Can I call myself a happy being? If yes, why am I happy? If no, what makes me say I'm not happy? Who is responsible for my state of mind? Who is it or what is it that I think is responsible for my happiness or unhappiness? Just think about these questions for some time. Om Shanti. So, did you think? So, are you happy? How many say I'm happy? Just raise your hand. Okay. Why are you happy? Just write your answers in the chat box. Why do you think you are happy? What is it that makes you think that you are happy, or what is the reason for your happiness? Yes, what is the reason for your happiness? Who is responsible for your happiness? Or what is causing your happiness? Please write your answers, because there are not any reason to be sad. Okay. So absence of sadness is happiness. Okay. Anything else that you would like to share? God has given me another day to experience this world. This means I am lucky. Okay. I am in peace. Okay. What else? Yes. So there is no hankering for more earthly things. Okay, fine. Now you see, sometimes I could do whatever I wanted. Okay, fine. Okay. What I have is more than needed. I feel blessed. I am happy because today I got up early in the morning at 5:45, which I usually do not. All right. Thank you so much. Very nice answers you've all shared, and honest ones. Now, you see, we have to ask this question to ourselves very often. Am I happy? And then, why am I happy? Because if your happiness has a reason, then every reason has a season. And when the season will end, the reason will also end. And then your state of happiness will also end. So, whatever reason you have for happiness will become the cause of unhappiness tomorrow. So, today, when you think that I am happy because of this, tomorrow you can be unhappy because of that same thing. So, let's say I am happy because I got up early. Then tomorrow I get up late. I am unhappy because I got up late. Right? Or I have been blessed with a grandson. So that is the reason for happiness. Tomorrow the grandson doesn't listen to you. Then that is the reason for unhappiness. Right? So these are the reasons. So whenever you know our happiness has a reason, then that reason is bound to change, and then the happiness will also end. Now in these times, it's almost been an year, so a little less than a year, that this COVID situation has come up. And because of this situation, we have come to maybe observe a fact, which is that everything external is transient. So you thought that, going on holidays or outings, or taking a flight and going anywhere, or meeting people you like to meet, or socializing, you took that for granted, did you not? Or even going to the park or having a walk was taken for granted, or the gym was taken for granted, or just the possibility of going and fetching whatever you need from the market any time of the day was taken for granted. And then suddenly in a day everything changed. And then we came to know that for 3 months we can't go anywhere, we can't exercise, we can't use any equipment in the gym, or we can't go for a walk, or we can't travel, or we can't meet our friends, or we can't eat food from outside and relish it and feel happy. So everything's shifted in a day, and this brought us to some kind of cognizance. I don't know whether I can call it a realization, because a realization is meant to stay, but sometimes people are in shock but not in realization. So for some people found it very shocking that this kind of a situation could come up. But I don't know how many people realized that this is the true nature of life. So, this is the nature of reality, that anything can change suddenly. So, any situation can change suddenly. Anything that you took for granted so long can change suddenly. So, you should look around and ask yourself, how many things or how many people or how many situations are you taking for granted? So there is somebody who has written that my desires are limited. But then, do you know that any desire, however small you think it is, may not be met tomorrow? Yes, it could be limited, and yet that limited desire could not be met. So even if You are expecting a very little thing, that is, if you talk politely, the other person doesn't abuse you. You are not even talking about that person talking to you politely, but just this very limited expectation that the other person doesn't abuse you. But maybe even that is not met. So any desire, anything, not even desire, anything that you are so long taking for granted. For example, this internet that we are taking for granted today. Do you think this cannot crash? Do you think you can take this for granted? And what if there is no internet? What if there is no electricity tomorrow? How many days can you survive without the internet and the electricity? Ask yourself. Yes, so if there is no electricity, there is no air conditioning, there is no facility of the geyser, or there is no other facility which you are addicted to. I'm using a very strong word, addiction, because whenever we take something for granted and that is the source of our happiness, that is when we say it is addiction. So you think you are happy because of that, and you think that what there is no harm in it, and you can always have it for happiness. And then when that thing is not available to you, you suffer because it of its unavailability. That is basically how addiction works. So, how many things are you addicted to? Are you addicted to your tea? Are you addicted to your coffee? Are you addicted to Netflix? Are you addicted to your pillow? Are you addicted to a certain way of living? So, all that can change, and it won't even give you a notice before changing. So basically, at these times, it is becoming clearer and clearer. And I will share one incident, or something that somebody shared with me. So this knowledge that we are talking about today has been around since the 1930s. So 1930s, this institution called Brahma Kumaris came into existence, and from then on, God has been telling us about this sudden change. So there is one woman, and she came into this knowledge, or she was introduced to these things 30 years back, and she was in Nepal at that time. And then in and around her, she said there was so much of contentment and beauty and peace, that whenever we used to listen that there would be sudden change, or things that you take for granted can change, so you should be anchored within. So she said, I could never appreciate what God is saying, because I could never conceive of a time when sudden change could happen. And then she said, it's been 30 years, and with every passing day, this knowledge has started making more sense. And today, with this COVID, I came to realize that whatever God has been saying is very true. And up until now, I was not able to appreciate it very well. So we sometimes, when we listen to something, we think that maybe maybe the whatever is being said might be true about some people or some section of society, but it will not hold true for me. But then time will tell, and time is showing that nobody is immune to this effect of sudden change. Any class you belong to, any kind of resources you have access to, or any post and position that you have, cannot save you from the effects of this sudden change. And then when anything on the external is changing, if your happiness is reliant on it, then your happiness will change. And that day I told you that when character is lost, everything is lost. So it is, you don't lose anything when you lose things, when you lose people, or situations are not your way, but you lose when you stop being peaceful or happy, or start feeling agitated or disappointed or sorrowful because of that situation. So when happiness is lost, when peace is lost, when love is lost, then everything is lost. So this is something that we need to understand. And whenever your happiness has a reason, then that happiness cannot be a stable state, because nothing on the external world is going to stay the same always. So, how many of you are deriving your happiness from Netflix? And from other stuff, maybe gaming or maybe something else. So you are watching something, or that is what is keeping you busy and happy. So if you are deriving your happiness from that, then if the internet is gone, then what do you do? Okay, so you have to train yourself to be happy come what may, peaceful come what may. And this is the call of time. And only the people who listen to the call of time will survive. Now, what is this thing about survival? Because, sometimes people will say that, what is it about survival? So you say you are a soul, and you will carry forward your sanskar with you. So even if this body ends, you are eternal, so you will carry your sanskar with you. So you should always take care to be in a happy and stable state, a peaceful state, even at the time of leaving the body. So it's not just about living in this body, but even while leaving the body, we have to take care of our state of mind, because our state of mind at the end will determine our onward journey. So, just like it is said that the closing balance of 31st March is the opening balance of 1st April. So, the opening balance in your new body will be the closing balance in this body. So, you have to take care of that too. So, this is why you need to understand why happiness is an internal thing. You are a happy soul, and anything external should not be the basis of my happiness. I will also like to talk about the decreasing, every day our capacity to stay happy and peaceful on our own is decreasing. And why? Because we are sourcing it from outside. Now, you see, the law says if you don't use it, you lose it. So, for example, you started using your mobile phone to store whatever you wanted to remember. So, there is a reminder provision in your phone, and whatever you want to be reminded about, you can just ask your phone to remind you, right? So, whenever you want to be reminded of some birth date or some important event or something that you have to do, then what you do is you feed it on the phone and then you forget it. So your capacity to remember has been outsourced to the phone. And then, because of that, less and less capacity to remember things is available to you with each passing day. Nowadays, do you recognize that your capacity to recall or your memory is getting weaker and weaker, because you have outsourced that capacity to the phone. So your phone is doing your work. So you had to remember things, and now the phone is doing it. So your ability to do it for yourself is decreasing. Yes? Do you agree with this? Yes, do you agree with this? So earlier you had so much capacity to walk. Nowadays, because you have outsourced that capacity to your car or to your bike, then you don't walk. The bike walks for you, or the car walks or runs for you. Then your capacity to walk is decreasing, because if you don't use it, you lose it. Now, every person is capable of cooking his food, but then in the coronavirus times, cooking was a very major issue, and everybody was talking about how they have to cook and clean their houses. Now, I remember 20 years back, cooking and cleaning was all done by family members. So nobody outsourced the cooking and cleaning thing. So everybody cleaned their houses and everybody cooked for themselves. But then in these 20 years, we have outsourced it. So now that we have outsourced it, cooking and cleaning has become such a big headache. So we can't cook and clean for ourselves because we have lost that capacity by not using it, right? And nowadays you see, earlier when you used to study, when you and I were in school, then we didn't need a video to remember or understand whatever we were studying, because we could read something and create an imagery. Could you do that? You could read history book, you could read something, you could read physics, chemistry, and you could create an image corresponding to it on your own. You had that capacity of creative visualization. And nowadays children need a video and an audio or a literature, so that because they are not using their creative visualization capacity, so they need somebody else's creativity to register whatever they are reading. So this is why nowadays they are talking about reading through e-methods and then reading through videos and this and that. So whatever capacity you don't use, you lose it. Now this is about physical capacities. Now what about spiritual capacities? Now if you think that your alcohol is going to create the happiness for you, or the drugs that people are taking are creating the happiness for them, so then your capacity to create your own state of happiness is being lost in the process. So whenever you are using maybe Netflix or maybe alcohol or maybe some cigarette or some drugs or some nicotine or tea or coffee to create that happiness for you, because they are inducing some chemicals into the body which are enabling you to experience that happy state, so then it is being externally induced, so then your capacity to think happy thoughts and create that happiness for yourself is getting lost in the process. Yes, so you didn't have to rely on external substances for happiness, but then now that you are relying on it, your capacity to produce that happy state on your own is being lost. Do you remember there was a time, maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago, when you used to watch one movie and you used to be very happy watching that movie, and then for 1 week you didn't need to watch anything else because that movie stayed with you and you could be happy about it. And nowadays people are binge watching because their capacity to stay happy in the in that state, perpetual state of happiness, because of that one movie, is very limited. So once that movie is over, the happiness dips, and then you again need another dose to feel the same thing, because we have become very low in our happiness quotient. So you need additional doses, increasingly additional doses, to feel the same thing. I will share one very funny incident with you. I was sitting in an office one day, and then there was this young brother who was sitting in front of me, and he was watching something on his screen, and I thought he was working. So I needed some help from him. So I waited while he finished his work. And then, because I was waiting for him to look up and help me, so I kept watching him and I was very aware of his expressions all the time. And then after 15 minutes, he looked up and Then I said, could you help me with this? So he said, yeah, you could have asked me earlier also. I was free. So I said, no, you looked really serious and you looked like you're working on something. So I didn't intend to disturb you. Then he said, no, 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 I was just watching stand up comedy. So I said, how? I didn't know you were watching stand up comedy because you didn't laugh at all the 15 minutes I was looking at you. So there was not even a smile, let alone a laugh on your face. Then he said, no, the jokes were not good. So I said, but no joke can be so bad that they can't even make you smile. So you see, our capacity to smile has become so lost that we, no joke, and nowadays we are not watching comedy to smile. We are watching comedy to challenge the comedian. How dare you make me smile? So I dare you to make me smile. So this is how we are watching stand up comedy these days, or any kind of comedy, for example. So you see that our capacity to be happy or smile or stay peaceful. So nowadays you find so many reasons to be peaceless in a day, and there is no reason for you to be peaceful in a day. So every 2 seconds you find a reason to be unhappy or peaceless, but no reason to be happy or peaceful. Why? Because you have not used your capacity to stay happy come what may, stay peaceful come what may, for a very long time. And at the very slightest reason, you have used up your capacity to be unhappy or peaceless. That is why the probability to be happy or peaceful has got lesser and lesser, and the probability to be unhappy and peaceless in a situation is increasing every second. Okay, and the same is for love. So what does it take for you to withdraw your love from somebody? So for example, you are calling somebody, you pick up the phone and then you are calling somebody, and in that time you are in a state of love. So you are in a open hearted state, and you are uh, in a state where you have respect and regard for the other person. And as soon as the phone is not answered, the first thought you have is, they didn't answer my phone. And then your happiness or your state of love or that state of acceptance or that connectedness with the other person is lost. So it doesn't even require anybody to tell you something or do something wrong for your state of love to shift to a state of indifference, or to shift to a state of complaint. It only requires somebody to not answer your phone or just check the message and not reply. So for example, you sent a message to somebody. Now you don't send a message to somebody who you don't care for, or who you don't trust. You sent a message, that means you are in a good state of orientation towards them. But then as soon as you see that person is online, and then your message is not checked, then suddenly your state of love shifts, and then your state of love changes to a state of criticism or complaint, or disappointment or something, or at least a question mark. So the full stop or the open door has changed to a question mark. So, how much does it take for you to shift your state from from a loveful and accepting state to an otherwise state? It takes very less. And now that we have been doing it for so long, our capacity to stay loveful come what may is lost. And then at the slightest opportunity, we are blocking our love. So our love is changing into criticism or complaint, or disappointment or anger or something else. And then because it is changing from love to something else at the slightest opportunity, we have become souls which are bereft of the capacity to love. And do you know, love connects. So the only thing which can connect you to the universe, or have you have any power over souls and things and the universe is your capacity to love. And when you don't have the capacity to love, then everything is lost. Your capacity to connect with the universe is lost. So, can we just have as a rule in our programming that I have to stay loveful come what may? I have to stay peaceful come what may. I have to stay happy come what may. So even if there are 100 reasons for me to be not happy, or there are 100 things that I think my happiness is reliant on are absent, or I think there are 100 reasons to be peaceless, I choose to stay peaceful. It is a conscious decision within myself that I don't let go of my peace, of my active state of peace. I don't let go of my active state of love or happiness. Even if somebody has behaved really badly or rudely, I uphold it as my ethical policy, my personal ethical policy or spiritual policy that I stay loveful come what may. So even if somebody is not in the slightest, respectful, or they are rude, or they are they are not behaving the way you expected them to behave, I stay loveful because this is my quality and I have taken it upon myself to uphold this spiritual value. So, there are moral values, there are professional values, there are social values, and then there are spiritual values. So, what is the spiritual value that you need to uphold? That spiritual value is I stay peaceful, happy, loveful, blissful, respectful, accepting, come what may, come what may. And then you see, just like there are so many reasons you will find to break laws, break social laws. So there are so many people who will behave in a manner which can make somebody, commit a social crime. Maybe if somebody so if somebody behaves really badly, can you go and kill them? They have given you every reason to kill them. Can you kill them? But they are giving you a reason. So why not go and kill them? So you can't kill somebody because you can't kill, right? So even if somebody gives you a reason to kill, you can't kill because you can't kill. So then even if somebody is giving you a reason to be unhappy, you can't be unhappy because you are not capable of that. That is your personal spiritual policy. Can't we just uphold this much? So just like, there are reasons which we can use to commit social ills, commit professional ills. So if somebody comes and bribes you, it is your personal choice not to accept the bribe, right? Because you think it is against your value system to accept a bribe, even if it is being offered. Similarly, if somebody is offering you sorrow or offering you unhappiness, you don't take it because that is your personal spiritual policy. So, can we draw a line here and also uphold these spiritual values, just like we are talking about moral values, or we are talking about legal values, or we are talking about social values, or professional values, or family values? So, similarly, we should have spiritual values within ourselves, which entitle us to a good spiritual existence. So, just like social values are important for society to function very well, similarly, for a soul to function well, you need to have your personal spiritual code of conduct. That is, I will not uh, move from peace to peacelessness come what may. The situation will come, okay, and I will deal with the situation, but I will not move from peace to peacelessness. I will not move from happiness to unhappiness, or from love to disrespect or rudeness or complaint or criticism, because this is my personal spiritual policy. Yes. So if you do this, you will create a good spiritual state for yourself, even if whatever the journey of the other people around you is, or whatever the journey of the world is, you will be happy and you will be peaceful, and your journey with yourself will be a good one and a smooth one, and the one going, upwards, not downwards, because you have upheld this as a policy. And I tell you, with passing time, reasons will multiply. Reasons will not get lesser and lesser. So there'll be more and more reasons to be unhappy, and more reasons to be peaceless, and more reasons to have hatred and anger and other things. But then you have to uphold your spiritual values so that you stay calm and peaceful within. So, I have an uncle, and I was I was young, and at that time he came home, and I was a child, and I was watching him. He came home, and then he kept his bag, and he said, "I have to go to the market again." So I said, "Why have you to go to the market again?" So he said, "Somebody stole my mobile in the market. So I want to leave my charger also there so that he takes that also. Otherwise, how will he operate the mobile without the charger?" So we found it very funny, and we said, "If the mobile is lost, why do you want to go and leave the charger also?" Then he said, "See, when you lose something, you leave your happiness also with it, right? So you say, now that thing is lost, आप खुश होके भी क्या करेंगे? So let us leave our happiness also." So similarly, he took the mobile, he should take the charger as well. So this is how we are working. So if one thing is lost, at least don't lose the other thing after it. So you still have your peace and happiness and love left within yourself. Even if nobody is appreciating you or approving of you, or nobody is accepting you, you can accept at least yourself, or approve of yourself and appreciate yourself and have a loveful state within. Why do you create anger within? Why do you create frustration within? So you are doing the same thing to yourself that they are doing to you. So then why do you say they are wrong and you are right? You are doing an equal crime against yourself as they are doing against you. So this is something that we need to understand, that our own happiness, our own peace, our own state of love is very precious. And A, we don't lose it whenever other things outside are changing. And B, we try not to take too much from outside. So don't depend too much on external sources for your peace, love, happiness. So you see, if you think that happiness will come from earning a lot of money, or holidaying, or buying stuff, then that time is changing now, and the market conditions would be such that maybe we will not be able to make a lot of money, or maybe we will not be able to may have too many holidays, or maybe situations won't allow a lot on the external front. So we should make our demands less and less. So if you think that external resources will give you internal peace and internal happiness, then your reliance on external sources has to reduce. So we have to rely less and less on external sources. So if you think that every week you have to go out and eat out and only then you can be happy, then you have to change that programming and say, even if I eat dal chawal every day, I can be happy despite that. So if I get a good meal, fine. If I have an opportunity to go out and have a good meal, fine. But even if I don't have that opportunity, let me appreciate the dal chawal I have. So, this is something that we have to cultivate. We have to reduce our reliance on external sources. And do you understand how much of reliance on external sources there is for an internal state of peace and happiness? Because when the lockdown ended, then there was a need to open shops which sell items of necessity. And then the first shops that needed to be open were bars and alcohol shops and this stuff, right? So the shops selling alcohol had to be opened first because that was the biggest necessity, because other things were feeding the body, this was feeding happiness. So that was required more than other stuff that was feeding the body. So do you understand that for happiness and peace we are relying on external stuff in a big way? And people are feeling so suffocated and so miserable and so desperate when these things are not available. And domestic violence was on the rise. People did not shy away from beating their own family members or their children because they were frustrated by not getting alcohol. So this is a very serious situation, and we need to understand that our reliance on external things for internal happiness and peace can't go on like this. So we have to stop our reliance. So start abstinence. Start abstinence. Start a little of abstinence. Abstinence from these drugs and cigarette and this stuff, and from whatever you are watching and getting your food for happiness and peace, or whatever you are eating too much and getting your happiness and eat and stuff, or if you are engaging in too much of sexual activity for pleasure, that has to stop. So any kind of external reliance that you have cultivated, you have to understand that that is going to be challenged in the coming situations. So one has to start becoming more self reliant. So, what is self reliance? You are depending on your own thoughts and your own internal, the spiritual state for your happiness and peace, not on external stuff. You are not relying on your bank balance or on other people giving you likes and dislikes, or other people appreciating your work, or other people giving you approval and recognition. So if you rely on these things, then it will become very, very difficult in the coming times. So, first is not getting affected by things changing around you, and second is stopping undue reliance by practicing some abstinence. So, start sitting uh, for some time in the day, maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes you start with, or 30 minutes, and just sit with yourself and try cultivating conscious thoughts. So, just like in the meditations we do, we start with reflecting on certain questions and then exercising our mental faculty to get some point of knowledge or arrive at some understanding which stimulates us. Or try creating these thoughts, or creating an image that I'm a soul, I'm peaceful, blissful, and try relishing that state of mind. So try cultivating thinking consciously and arriving at conscious states of happiness and peace, not dependent on the external world but consciously cultivated by thought process. So this is basically the practice of soul consciousness. And when you take out time to do this, then you will be increasing your capacity to create states of peace and happiness. So just like, you can sometimes, have you seen, you just sit and you think and you make yourself miserable with your own thoughts. Do you do that? There's nothing you're doing. There is no situation. There is nothing on the external happening. You sitting with yourself and making yourself miserable. Do you do this? You do this, right? And how do you do that? You are an expert at that. We are all experts at that. Yes, so we sit with ourselves and we make ourselves miserable. How do we do that? We take a thought and then we develop it into a feeling. So we take a thought that I didn't get anything in life, or I was always a victim, or everybody did wrong to me, or every situation that's happening around me is making me more and more miserable. And then you have circular thinking around this thought. So you take a main thought and then every other thought is in circular pattern leading to that affirmation of that thought. Yes, so when you take a central thought, I'm a victim, then you think about all the thoughts that re emphasize that you are a victim. And then you come to the conclusion, henceforth, I am a victim. And then you feel miserable about it. Correct? This is how you do it. So, similarly, you can do the opposite. You can take one central thought, I'm peaceful. And then why are you peaceful? Because I'm a soul. Because or the soul is made of peace. This is my basic design. And I am separate from the body. So there is no external situation which can make me peaceless. I come alone, I go alone. Peace is my original nature. So you engage in circular thinking around this central thought and then develop it into a feeling. Just like you are fully capable of making yourself miserable, you can be fully capable of making yourself peaceful. Can't you do that? Is meditation simple now? Meditation is very simple. So, so we are meditating all the time. We are just doing the opposite of it all the time. So I don't know what the opposite of meditation would be called, but then meditation is thinking consciously in a way that makes you feel happy and peaceful. And what we do all the time is thinking unconsciously in a way that makes us peaceless and unhappy. So we have to just do the opposite in meditation. So you have to sit still and cultivate these thoughts alongside creating a visual image of it. And this is something that you have to cultivate consciously because we have not been doing this always. So it is not a sanskar or a practice with us. So we have to start somewhere and then cultivate this practice. Okay, so this is for today. Om Shanti. Let me take up some questions which are written and then we will have some meditation. Okay, so it's not a question. I live in Canada and sending WhatsApp messages on 9958372639 but not getting any replies. The number correct? Yes, the number is correct. I will check this, okay? I'm deriving my happiness from money. Okay. So, money also, it will not, and again, money is a very big thing because how much of money? So, money for subsistence or for, necessity or for luxury or for, security or what? So, that is also a big question. So how to apply love virtue? So, because it's always opposite in practical life. So, you have to know that you are loveful. So, love is your state of being. Okay. If someone expects us to behave their way continuously and be unhappy because of that, how much should we keep doing as per their will? So you must understand this one thing, that somebody is expecting you to behave their way. Now you see, I might also expect that, but you are not obliging me. Why are you obliging that one person? So it's not because they want you to behave their way that you are obliging them. You are obliging them because their happiness or their approval is important for you. So because you think if you behave their way, they will be happy and then you will be happy in turn, right? So they have programmed themselves that I will be happy when she behaves according to me. But you have programmed yourself that I will be happy when they are happy with me. So you don't have to deal with their programming, you have to deal with your programming. So if you can be happy even if they are unhappy with you, then you will be okay. So you should know that even if that person is not happy with me, I'm still happy and I'm entitled to my happiness. And I will only do as much as I think is right on my part to do, then your problem will be solved. Now, you must understand that it is not their programming, it is your programming that is the reason for your unhappiness. So, if I expect you to behave my way, you won't do that. But why do you do that for him or whoever it is? Because you think their happiness is important for your happiness. Now you have to understand that you can be happy even if they are not happy with you. Okay. Okay, fine. Om Shanti. What is the secret of happiness? The secret of happiness is knowing that you are happy and not going and seeking it outside. So, there is a very small, beautiful story about this. So, there was a queen and she had a pearl of necklace, a necklace of pearls around her neck, and then she kept looking for those pearls in the whole kingdom. So she thought that she has lost that necklace, and she looked for it in the whole kingdom. And then after many years of searching the necklace, she found it around her own neck. So similarly, we have been made to believe that our happiness and peace is lost and something or someone outside has it and they will give it to us. And this is why we keep looking at others or begging and seeking it from others. But actually, it is in ourselves, and we have to take cognizance of the fact that I am happy and I am fully capable of staying happy come what may. This is the secret of happiness. And another thing is, happiness is the product of good karma. So, happiness is not experienced when you get it from somewhere. It is experienced when you do something that makes another person happy. So, if you can bring a smile to on another person's face, then you will also have a smile on your face in return. So happiness is the product of good karma. So whenever you have the opportunity, do something good. That is also what will make you happy. And there is a small incident associated with it. So Bill Gates once shared that he earned a lot of money at a very young age, and he became a millionaire and a billionaire at very young age. And he said that although I earned such a lot of money, I never felt the happiness that I thought would accompany the money. But then when I started using that money for good work, then I experienced the happiness that was supposed to accompany the money. So, this is the experience shared by Bill Gates. So, you don't get happiness when you get money, you get health, you get something. So, you get happy when you use that which you have got to better someone else's life, or you share it, and you make the world prosperous. So that is when you experience happiness. Okay. कस्तूरी मृग के पास है पर वो ढूंढे सारा वन. Yes, right. हाँ. Didi, you told that if the happiness have the reason, then it became reason of unhappiness tomorrow. So what's about sadness? Sadness has any reason? No, sadness doesn't have any reason, because sadness is not a thing on its own. Just like you see, there is nothing like darkness. Darkness is the absence of light. So sadness is the absence of happiness. So that is why sadness doesn't have a reason. When you're not happy, you are sad. It is not the opposite. That when you're not sad, you are happy. No. When you're not happy, you are sad because happiness is a positive phenomena and sadness is the absence. It cannot exist on its own. Okay? Om Shanti. Let's meditate for some time. Let me sit still and reflect on the truth that I am a soul, just like a lotus flower lives in muddy water, but is not part of the muddy water. It is completely separate. Similarly, soul live in this world of matter, this body made of matter, but I am not matter. I am pure light. See yourself sitting behind the eyes, a pure point of light, distinct from the five elements of matter. I, the soul, am divine light. My light is the light of peace, the light of happiness. I am this. Just feel the energy of your being. You are an energy of stillness, silence, peace, and happiness. This is your own frequency. This is how you feel being you. Let me just sit in this awareness of who I am and how it feels to be me. Spend a few moments in this awareness. Om Shanti.